In a city of glass towers and cold hearts, a woman known for her power and perfection walked out of her headquarters expecting just another ordinary evening. But fate doesn't knock, it whispers. And that whisper came from a tiny voice trembling in the dusk. A small boy, clothes dusty, hands shaking, stood in front of one of the richest women in the country and said 5 words no one expected. "Ma'am, can I get water?" Her bodyguard stepped forward, ready to push the child away. But then the boy spoke again, and what he said froze the man, shattered the CEO's composure, and changed everything. This is the story of how one simple request uncovered a truth neither of them were ready for. The evening sun dipped behind the towering skyscrapers, painting the city gold as people hurried home. Outside the grand entrance of Ellis Industries, employees poured out after a long day, not daring to look too long at the sleek black car waiting at the front. It belonged to Madeline Ellis, the feared yet admired CEO whose empire touched every corner of the city. Her sharp heels clicked against the marble floor as she exited the building, her bodyguard, Jackson, trailing behind her with practiced discipline. To most, she looked untouchable, impeccable suit, flawless poise, and a stare that could quiet a room instantly. Madeline lifted her wrist to check the time, preparing for a late-night board meeting, when something tugged at the edge of her senses. A small figure stood near the giant fountain by the entrance, thin legs, oversized hoodie, shoes worn so much they barely held together. He was no more than 7. At first, she dismissed him as another kid running around, but then he moved, slowly, nervously, toward her. Jackson noticed and immediately stepped forward, blocking the child. "Kid, stay back. This area isn't for her." But the boy didn't run. He didn't cry. He simply lifted his face, cheeks sunken, lips cracked, eyes holding a kind of tiredness no child should ever have, and whispered, "Ma'am, can I get some water?" Madeline stopped walking. Water? He wasn't asking for money, food, help, or pity. Just water. Before she could respond, Jackson spoke harshly, "You can't just walk up to people like that." Then, everything shifted. The boy swallowed painfully and took a step closer, his voice barely audible. "Please. My mom hasn't woken up since morning. She said she was just tired, but she won't open her eyes. I tried shaking her. I tried calling her. I don't know what to do. She needs water. I can't wake her up." Jackson's stern expression fell apart instantly. His jaw tightened, his hands dropped to his sides. For the first time in years he froze. Madeline's heart clenched, though her face remained composed. Something about the boy's tone, his trembling, his desperate attempt to stay brave, hit a place inside her she hadn't touched in years. A childhood memory she had buried deep tugged at her, a time when she too had stood helpless, unable to wake someone she loved. She took a slow breath. "Where is your mother?" she asked softly. The boy pointed toward the far street. "Inside the old building, the one where they don't let anyone live anymore. But we didn't have anywhere else to go." Madeline exchanged a look with Jackson. The building the boy mentioned had been condemned months ago. No electricity. No safe walls. No plumbing. And definitely no water. Jackson knelt, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. "Kid, what's your name?" He hesitated. "Eli." Madeline crouched too, surprising her own body. She lowered herself to meet Eli's eyes. "Eli, sweetheart, did you try calling an ambulance?" His chin wobbled. "I don't have a phone. Mom says phones cost too much. And ambulances don't come to where we stay. Last time, they didn't." Her stomach twisted. This wasn't just a thirsty child. This wasn't a simple request. This was a cry from the edge of fear. Madeline stood suddenly. "Get the car," she ordered. Jackson blinked. "Ma'am, you're not planning to?" "I am." Her voice was firm, final. "We're taking him home." Eli tugged at her sleeve gently, voice small. You're really coming? You won't leave me, right?" For the first time in years, something cracked in Madeline's expression. She knelt again, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. "I'm not leaving you. Not tonight." And as the driver opened the door for them, Madeline realized something strange. The city felt quieter, the evening air felt heavier, and that one simple request, "Can I get water?" had already begun to change everything she thought she knew about herself. The car sped through the evening streets, weaving between traffic as Eli sat quietly between Madeline and Jackson. He held his hands tightly in his lap, the dirt on his sleeves smudging against the leather seat, but he didn't move. He didn't look around. He seemed too afraid to breathe, as if the wrong breath would make everything fall apart again. Madeline watched him carefully, noticing the way his chest rose too fast, the way he kept wiping his nose with the back of his hand, trying hard not to cry. She didn't speak yet. She didn't want to overwhelm him. But inside, something was brewing in her chest, an emotion she had forgotten how to feel. Not pity. Something heavier. Something aching. Jackson glanced at the boy repeatedly, more shaken than he cared to admit. He had worked with Madeline for 8 years, seen danger, threats, and emergencies of all kinds, but nothing had rattled him the way Eli's quiet words did. She won't wake up. That sentence had replayed in his mind from the moment the boy said it. He kept scanning Eli's trembling hands, the bruises on his wrist, the slight limp in his leg. This wasn't just a thirsty boy. This was a child carrying a world too heavy for someone his size. The car slowed as they turned into an abandoned block, the kind of area where streetlights flickered weakly, where the paint peeled off old buildings like dead skin. The condemned building stood ahead, windows broken, door hanging crookedly. Madeline had never been in a place like this. Her entire life, she had been raised in spaces designed for power, polished boardrooms, elite academies, penthouse suites. But now, for the first time in years, she felt small, human, vulnerable. Eli tugged gently at her sleeve when the car stopped. "This way," he whispered as if afraid someone might overhear. They followed him through the broken doorway into a dark hallway that smelled of damp concrete and old dust. Their footsteps echoed sharply. Madeline lifted her phone flashlight, revealing cracked walls and splintered floors. Eli walked ahead with careful steps, avoiding holes he clearly knew by memory. Then he pointed toward a door without a knob. "She's inside." Madeline pushed the door gently, and the smell hit her first, stale, sick air mixed with something metallic. A thin mattress lay on the floor, a blanket wrapped around a woman whose chest rose unevenly. Eli rushed to her side instantly, kneeling beside her. "Mom? Mom, I brought people. They'll help you. Please wake up." His voice cracked into a sob he tried hard to swallow. Madeline moved closer, her chest tightening painfully. The woman was dangerously pale, her lips dry and peeling, her breathing shallow. Even without medical knowledge, it was clear. She was severely dehydrated, possibly malnourished, and barely conscious. "Jackson," Madeline said urgently, "call emergency services. Tell them it's life-threatening." Eli's head snapped up, eyes wide with fear. "No. They'll take me away. Last time the neighbors got sick, they took their kids. Mom said they'd take me too. Please don't let them take me. I'll be good. I'll work. I won't be trouble." He began shaking, hugging his mother as if someone might snatch her away right now. Madeline crouched and placed both hands gently on his shoulders. "Eli, look at me," she said softly but firmly. When his watery eyes met hers, she continued, "I won't let anyone take you. I promise you that. But your mom needs help or she won't wake up again. We're going to help her survive. And we're doing this together, okay?" He sniffed, nodding hesitantly. "Okay." By the time the ambulance arrived, Eli wouldn't let go of his mother's hand. The paramedics carried her out carefully, inserting 4 fluids immediately. When one of them asked, "Who's responsible for the child?" Eli shrank behind Madeline instantly, gripping her coat. Madeline didn't hesitate. "I am," she answered, her voice strong enough to silence any doubt. The paramedics nodded and moved on. As they followed the stretcher toward the ambulance, Eli tugged at Madeline again. "Are you coming too?" Madeline didn't need a second to think. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm coming with you." Jackson held the door for them and climbed in after, the ambulance speeding toward the hospital with its sirens splitting the night. Madeline watched Eli as he sat beside his mother, stroking her arm gently, whispering words that no child should ever have to say. "Please don't leave me. I'll be good. I'll be strong. Just wake up." Madeline felt her throat tighten. She had built a life on strength, discipline, and distance. But this child had pierced every armor she had ever worn. And as the city lights blurred through the ambulance windows, she realized that her life was shifting, bending into a direction she hadn't planned for. Eli wasn't just a child she was helping. He was a child she couldn't walk away from anymore. And deep inside, she feared what that meant. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beeping of machines. Eli sat curled in the chair beside his mother's bed, his knees pulled to his chest, eyes fixed on her breathing. It had been hours since they arrived, hours since the doctors rushed her into emergency treatment, hours since Madeline found that she couldn't step more than a few feet away from him without feeling her chest twist. Now the doctor stood at the foot of the bed, explaining the situation gently. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, severe exhaustion. Weeks, maybe months, of neglect, not out of cruelty but out of struggle. The mother had been working 2 jobs until her health collapsed. That final day, she didn't wake because her body simply couldn't keep going. She'll recover, the doctor said softly, but slowly. And the boy, he can't be left alone again. Madeline felt the words hit her like a weight. She glanced at Eli, still focused on his mother, unaware of the silent decisions being made around him. Jackson cleared his throat and stepped closer to her. "Ma'am, I know that look. What are you thinking?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, but only for a moment. "I'm thinking," she whispered, "that I've never seen a child fight so hard to stay gentle. And I'm thinking, he shouldn't have to keep fighting alone." Jackson's expression softened. "If anyone can help him, it's you." The next morning, when Eli finally fell asleep in the chair wrapped in a hospital blanket, Madeline gently brushed his hair aside and felt something break inside her. She had signed contracts worth billions. She had made decisions that shaped entire companies. But no decision had ever made her hands tremble the way this one did. When his mother woke up a little later, weak but conscious, her gaze fell on Madeline with confusion at first. Then fear. Who are you?" she whispered. Madeline stepped closer, her voice soft. "My name is Madeline Hayes. Your son asked us for help last night. We brought him and you here. You're safe." "He's safe." The woman's eyes filled with tears instantly. He talked to you? He trusted you?" she whispered as if that alone was unbelievable. "He doesn't talk to strangers." Madeline sat beside her. "He was protecting you. He was terrified. And he thought you wouldn't wake up." The woman's face crumpled and she covered her mouth as silent sobs shook her fragile body. "I failed him," she whispered. "I couldn't give him a home. I couldn't give him food. And still he holds my hand every night and says he's fine. What kind of mother lets her boy grow up like that?" Madeline reached out, placing her hand gently on hers. "A mother who didn't give up," she said softly. "A mother who survived. A mother who raised a boy kind enough to give his last sip of water to a stranger." The woman cried harder, her hands shaking as she wiped her cheeks. "Thank you," she choked. "For saving him. For bringing him here. But what happens now? I can't work. I can't stand for more than a few minutes. They'll take him from me. I know they will. Please don't let them. He's all I have." That fear in her voice, raw, terrified, hit Madeline deeper than she expected. She looked at the frail woman, then at Eli asleep in the chair. And suddenly her decision wasn't difficult. "No one is taking him," Madeline said firmly. "I won't allow it." The mother looked up, confused. What do you mean?" Madeline inhaled slowly. "I want to help. Not for a day. Not for a week. I want to help both of you, for as long as you'll let me. A safe place. A steady life. School. Medical care. Everything he needs. And everything you need to recover." The woman froze, stunned, her lips trembling. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that for us?" Madeline swallowed. "Because your son reminded me what kindness looks like. Because he asked me for water, but gave me something I didn't know I'd lost. Humanity." The woman didn't answer. She couldn't. She reached for Madeline's hand instead, squeezing it with what little strength she had. And for the first time in years, Madeline felt tears sting her eyes. Later that day, Eli woke up and hurried to his mother's bedside the moment he saw her eyes open. "Mom, you're awake," he cried, hugging her tightly as relief washed over him like a wave. His mother stroked his hair gently. "I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm okay because of them." Then she looked at Madeline. "Eli, Madeline wants to help us. She wants to give us a home, until I'm strong again. What do you think?" Eli slowly turned to Madeline, his eyes wide, unsure. You want us to come with you?" he asked quietly, like he was afraid the answer might disappear. Madeline knelt to his level. "Only if you want to, Eli. Only if you feel safe." Eli stared into her eyes for a long moment, searching for something, truth, maybe trust, maybe hope. And then, without warning, he threw his arms around her neck. "I want to," he whispered. "I want to come with you." In that instant, something shifted forever. Not just for Eli. Not just for his mother. But for Madeline, the woman whose life had been built on steel and distance. Because in the smallest, driest voice of a thirsty little boy, she had found something she never expected to hear again. Meaning.